Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be previewing the Boston Celtics New York Knicks Game 5 as this series switches back to Boston for the first time since Game 2. But Boston will be without a significant superstar. It's very unfortunate what happened with Jason Tatum. I'm praying for him, but you know what? I'm not trying to say this in a rude way, but things got to move on. Boston's got to, obviously, I think. When you're not on the court, you're not, you've got to be thinking about Jason Tatum. You got to be praying. That's where the mindset's got to be. Jason Tatum and what's going on with him and with the future of the Celtics team. That should be the mindset when this team is down on the court. But when this team is on the court tonight, the only thing that you should be thinking about with Jason Tatum is we're going to go win this game for him tonight. Nothing more than that. And that's how you win the ball game. If this Boston Celtics have the mentality of two things tonight, let's not lose this game in front of our home crowd fans when we just won a championship last year, and let's not get embarrassed in front of our home crowd. That's the first thing, and then the second thing is let's go win this game for JT tonight. If Boston comes out with that motivation. Those two things, the Boston Celtics will be unstoppable tonight. And look, I'm not saying the Celtics are going to come back from 3-1 because if anyone thinks that, you are crazy. You're delusional. If Jason Tatum was healthy, if Jason Tatum was out there, I would tell you Boston has a chance to come back 3-1. And the reason I say this is just because you've seen this Celtics team, you saw the Celtics team who didn't have Porzingis, didn't have Drew Holiday, and had Marcus Smart and Robert Williams instead of those two guys on their team come back from down 3-0 and almost win a Game 7. And the only reason they didn't was because Tatum got hurt in that Game 7. So that's the only reason why I would say, okay, I could see Boston coming back, but there is no Tatum. Tatum was a key reason to that comeback down when they were down 3-0. So I especially having to go to New York in Game 6 without Tatum, I don't think Boston stands a chance in this series to come back 3-1. But that doesn't mean I don't think Boston could come back and win one game and then see, them losing 6 games, which I think is the more likely scenario. Now, look, I think if Boston were to win the next 2 games and then you're back home for Game 7, that's a different story. I think that, look, I would say this Boston Celtics team is talented enough to do it. You've got Jaylen Brown, an all-star. Drew Holiday is an all-star. Porzingis is an all-star. But Holiday and Porzingis need to play like all-stars. Derek White is a guy I don't know how he's never in the last 2 years, the way Derek White has played, I'm surprised he's not been selected to the All-Star game. This year, the Cavs got 3 All-Stars, but the Celtics got 2. Derek White, he should be an all-star. He needs to play like it, and I think he has in this series, but they need Drew Holiday and Porzingis to step up because those 2 guys are all-stars, and I'm sorry, in this series offensively, they have not played like that. And if those guys stepped up more, Jaylen Brown did what if he can do what he's supposed to do, Derek White, I'm not going to rule it out from them come back 3-1, but I think there's a lot of what-ifs for this Boston Celtics team going up against a really talented New York Knicks team. So I'm going to rule out that this Boston Celtics come back from down 3-1. But I think the Celtics are talented enough to win in front of their fans and win a Game 5, and ultimately this series ends in 6 games, and the New York Knicks win it. So that's my predictions for tonight. Obviously, we go to injuries. The Knicks are completely healthy. There's nothing to worry about with injuries for the Knicks. Celtics have Jason Tatum on. Obviously, Jason Tatum's not playing. He just had surgery on his Achilles. Sam Hauser has a game-time decision. He missed the last game. Last 3 games he's been in the injury report. You might need Sam Hauser out there tonight. You're going to need shooting, and you're going to need more depth now that there's no Tatum, because you're going to lose someone on the bench. I don't know. I would predict Porzingis is going to start. I don't know if Missoula's confirmed it, but I think that you're going to lose someone that's been coming off the bench. It's probably not going to be Pritchard, but it's most likely going to be Porzingis, who's come off the bench most of this series. You're going to lose him, because he'll be a starter. He won't be coming off the bench. And then there would only be 2 players off the bench that you've seen coming off the bench in this series. if there is no Hauser. There'd be Pritchard and Luke Cornett. You might have to look at Xavier Tillman or Torrey Craig to give you some extra minutes. If Hauser can't play tonight, Boston's gonna have to look to guys that they haven't given regular minutes in the postseason, like Torrey Craig or Xavier Tillman, to get that extra spot in the rotation. That's assuming Boston were to go to an 8-man rotation. I don't think you only bring it would a 7-man rotation would be tight because then your starters are playing a lot, but. I think Hauser, you need him out there tonight off the bench. But, so let's get into starting lineups. Knicks, it's going to be Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart. Boston Celtics, this is my guess. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen a confirmation of Porzingis starting, but I think you'll see Porzingis jump to the starting lineup at the 4, and then Al Horford stays at the 5. Jaylen Brown at the 3, Derek White at the 2, and Drew Holiday at the 1 for the starting lineup with no Tatum, and then Pritchard, Luke Cornett off the bench, maybe Hauser depending on if he plays or not, and if he doesn't play, you might have to lean towards Torrey Craig or Xavier Tillman to give you extra minutes. Getting into prediction, I think the Boston Celtics win this game tonight in front of their home crowd. They have too much motivation when it comes to winning this game for Jason Tatum tonight, and then also not wanting to be embarrassed in front of your home crowd. I think if I was on an NBA team, I'd much rather, if I were going to, obviously I wouldn't have the mindset of we're going to lose in the playoffs, but I'd much rather lose in the playoffs, on the road than losing in front of your home fans. That I know that probably gives you're embarrassed regardless whether you lose in the playoffs on the road or at home, but it's way more embarrassing to lose in front of your fans. So that's something that I don't think the Boston Celtics are going to want to do tonight. And then you've got that extra motivation of doing it for Jason Tatum. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.